Hey guys, good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock in the Netherlands. It's hot, and I mean literally hot. It's code red, and tomorrow it's gonna be even hotter, 35 degrees Celsius. And trust me, I like a little bit of heat. This is absolutely horrendous. But luckily, we have airco at home, so yeah, not in the studio, but we have fans. And of course, we have you guys online. Also a little bit of a fan, right? Hey, welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. We're always doing this little introduction for the very simple reason we don't know if Facebook works or YouTube, but I see healthy everywhere. So that's absolutely cool. Hello, Yanni. How are you? Always nice to see you online. And of course, Inek is already online and we're waiting for the other ones, but we're actually not waiting. We're just going to start. And today we have something really cool. You guys asked for it. You wanted it. And now you're going to get it. We have a male model. Yay! Come on, you can do it. No? Oh, okay, then just start the bumper for another episode of our, well, my favorite show. Ooh, and we're back. Hey guys. And of course, Digital Classroom is made possible by our great friends from Rogue Expo Imaging and of course BenQ. Because if you're looking for a monitor, well, don't look any further. BenQ's the brand you have to trust. Because Frank tells you. Hey, what are we going to do today? Today's a little bit exciting because anything can go wrong today. And now why did I say that? Well, it's the first time ever we're streaming not on a MacBook Pro but on the Dell XPS 15. Yeah. So it's also the first time ever we're using the Magewell. And that is actually a really cool thing because in previous digital classrooms you always told me there's a little bit of a delay between what you say and what you retouch. Solved. Done. I hope so. Because we invested a lot of money in that one. So now we have a hardware solution that will actually stream 2K to our Wirecast setup. So that's going to be awesome. The other thing that's new is the Strobe brand. No Alengrom today, Photix. And I'm going to tell you in a moment why. So, without further ado, guys and girls, enjoy today's episode of Digital. I wanted to say behind the closed doors, you know. I just love doing the vlog, so I'm totally confused now. So enjoy today's Digital Classroom, guys. Let's switch over to Ian. Ian is our reporter on location, of course. So let me see. And where is Ian? Ian is actually on one of our high cams. So, girls, watch this. You're going to love him. Oh, of course, I have to switch cameras. There we go. Say hi, Ian. Hi. You don't have any camera, so they don't hear you. Just wave. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to walk to you, and then they're going to switch the camera to me. So I'm going to explain the gear we're going to use today and what else we're going to do. Okay. So I know exactly where I have to stand on this little mark, so if you move over a little bit. Oh, and sorry, by the way, for the shorts. Not that I'm short, but I'm wearing shorts. And why is that? It's so hot, but we already talked about it. So no more further ado. Digital Classroom is ready to start. Hey, strobes. Now, a lot of you guys know that I've been shooting Alengrom since the Stone Age. Literally since the Stone Age. I started with photography with, what was it? I believe bouwlampen. It's called continuous lighting. That's they use on construction sites. Very soon I switched to Jim Bay, and right after that it was Alengrom. And today, well, you've seen Photix. So what is Photix? Well, Photix is a brand that caught my attention a while ago for a very simple reason. When you go on location and you shoot in the studio, what is the thing that frustrates you the most? So in your studio, you have everything set up nicely. You have your modifiers. You know how your strobes work. Everything is the way that you love it. And then you go on location, and you go like, yeah, is there any power? No. Uh-oh. So you have to buy another set. Or you have to buy, big batteries, so you can power your strobes. The problem is you need a sinus curve, because otherwise you literally destroy your strobes. Now, with other systems, you can actually also buy, for example, with Ellingham, you can buy the Quadras or the Rangers, which I absolutely love. And don't worry, we still have our Ellingham gear. It's just that we also show some Photics at the moment, so no panic. Yet. Anyway, so what you can do is on location you use the Ellingham Quadras or the Rangers, and those are battery packs. The thing is, they're expensive. Well, it depends, of course, on how much money you want to spend, but they're not, let me put it this way, they're just as much as money as your studio strobes. So you need that extra set. Can you use that set in the studio? Yes, you can, but then you don't have a modeling light or a modeling light that's on constantly, or there's a lot of difference, and most of the time I will just tell people you have two sets, one for in the studio, one on location. And that's okay. Now watch this, and this is the cool thing. When we're in the studio, you can use an AC kit. And Anouk already brought that away, so I don't have that here. Now let me be careful that I don't demolish everything. Anouk, kan jij heel even hiermee helpen? Thank you very much. So this is the AC kit. Look at her smile. So this is the AC kit, and this will just give you a connection straight to your mains. So you can power your strobes from the mains. So you can put two heads on. And of course, and this is the smart thing, what I really like about the Photics, is that you actually control everything on the heads itself. So if you want more power from one head, you don't need a separate connector. You simply do it on the heads. And with all the other local sets, is actually, you put it on the battery pack. So you put two strobes on the battery pack, you can change it, and often there's an async setting, so 2/3 and 1/3 of power, like with the Quadras. And that always brought me actually to the point that I just brought two Quadras or two Rangers, because I want to be able to change the settings per strobe separately. So with this you can. This is just an AC kit for two heads. So this is what you use in the studio. Daisy. There we go. And this is the battery pack. Anouk loves this. And you know why? Because Anouk always carries my gear. And this is very, very small and very, very lightweight, and you can have a standard setting and high speed. And trust me, even on the standard setting, they recycle really fast. Is there any disadvantage of the set? Yes, of course there is a disadvantage. I have a lot of Ellingham gear. How do I connect it to the Photics? Very simple, with a conversion ring. The other is, I'm very used to the Skyport from Ellingham, so I can, on remote, change the settings on my Ellinghams. With this setting, with this setup today, I'm going to use the Strato 2. And the Strato 2 is actually a transmitter that's what we call dumb. It just triggers the strobes. You also have an Odin, and the Odin is smart. You can also use the Odin on the Mitros Plus. That's a small flash system. That's why I ended up with these guys. And then you can, from distance, use ETTL for Sony, Canon, and Nikon. And you can use, and that's the cool part, also manual and change the output. The reason I'm using Strato at the moment is because I also use a light meter. And if I want to trigger it, the light meter I'm using, the Psychonic, actually has the Strato transmitter inside. So some points you win, some points it's different, you know. And I'm just very, very spoiled with Ellingham that they have that option to change the output from a distance. And that's actually something that a lot of strobe brands don't. So today, the Photics. Okay, what is the first thing we're going to do? You see Ian, right? And he's jumping up and down from enjoyment because he wants to be shot. As a photo, of course. And first we're going to do a little bit of male versus female. What is the difference? Of course, I don't have to tell you. If you did biology, you know the difference, right? And, well, what more can I say? Of course you want to know with lighting. What is the difference in lighting? In all honesty, there isn't much difference. Lighting is working with light and shadow, and mostly with shadows. Now, the cool thing about a guy is that you can actually pose him a little bit differently, more harsh, like a little bit more like his hands, like this. See that? Really muscular and strong, like Batman. Well, I'm not really Batman, of course, but you know what I mean, right? You can make it a little bit more muscle-like. Do you have muscles? Yeah, he is. He's really hot because he's wearing these pants, and I'm just... that's the cool thing about photographers. If you shoot bikinis in winter, we can wear gloves. The models can't. And now in the summer, we're going to shoot suits. He has to wear a suit, and I can wear shorts. Awesome. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to turn this one on, And this is a beauty dish with a grid. So it's a very simple beauty dish. I love the smaller beauty dishes. So I hope you can see it on camera here. The grid is connected to it. You can also take the grid off. And if you take the grid off, let me try if I can do that really fast for you guys. There we go. You can actually see that inside there's a deflector. And what is a deflector? The deflector actually deflects the light. So it comes out of the flash tube into the deflector, back into the dish, and it creates a beautiful light source. Of course you want to make, well, do you want to see it without the grid? Yes, of course you want. So let's first do it without the grid. Okay, so I'm going to aim this at Ian. And I'm going to turn this a little bit down. And there we go. Great. Let's turn up the volume a little bit. Awesome. 1/4 power. And let me see where my light meter went. Over there. No, that's the wrong one. I need the 858. There we go. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Now this is set up for photics at the moment, so I can just meter this. And with the light meter, it's always important to point towards what? Don't point towards anything. Hold it in front of the area you want correctly lit. So there we go. And I'm now at 11.6. 11.6 means F11 and 6/10 of an f-stop. So that's actually 11. And then on your camera, 2 clicks up. But I'm a little bit for the full F numbers. So let's go down 1/3, 2/3. Oh, sorry. 1/3, 2/3. There we go. Meter again. And now I should be on F11. Yep. Okay. Grab the camera. It was already here. And let's go to F11. Okay. Now Anouk will switch to the picture-in-picture so you guys can see capture 1. And also that is in different setup, so let's hope everything works. Anouk, are you in picture-picture mode? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's take shot number 1. Great. So now what you see is actually a shot of Ian, and it's an okay shot. There's not much wrong with it. This is what a beauty dish does. It gives you a really nice quality of lighting. But it's also a little bit boring, don't you think? There's a lot of light spill. There's some light on the background. And somehow, this isn't the Ian I like. This is the Ian that was shot with a beauty dish without a grid. I just love grids. So let's put the grid in and see what difference that makes. And you might be shocked. Or not. Ian might be shocked. You're always shocked. Because we put Ian on battery power. Okay. There we go. Just click it in. Do we have to remeter? Yes, of course we do. So they took my meter away. There we go. Because every time you change something in your light setup, you remeter. Okay. 8.03, and that's F9. So let's just keep that on F9. Does this look nice? Do I look more arty? Okay, let's go to F9. Okay, so I didn't change the light anyway, only the grid. Okay. Now look at that difference. Now you can see that the background is much darker. This is more the Ian I like. This is more like, wow, Ian, you look awesome. That's really nice. But I want that background to be totally dark. And I have a lot of light spillage at the moment, so, well, I think we can work with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my light closer to Ian. And because it's a male model, we can get away with much harsher quality. Let me do it straight on. Straight on first. There we go. And just meter this. Don't worry. 11.5. Let's go down. F11. You see how easy it is with the light meter? You just set up your strobes the way you want it. F11. Okay, let's shoot straight on. Okay, tilt your head just a little bit like that. There we go, that's awesome. Great. You also see that I'm using a little bit more of a wide angle. What happens when I choose more of a zoom? Then we get a little bit more like this. There we go. So now it's more round-faced, and now we get a little bit more. There we go, that's better. But it's still not really a shot where you go like, this is why we tune into Digital Classroom, right? It's more like an okay shot. Let's create something that's a little bit more interesting. One of the things that the shadows always do is they follow the light. That's very logical, right? If you change the direction of your lighting, the shadows will change. So let's change direction of lighting to the sides. There we go. And normally you can feather your light. That means that you turn the hotspot away from the model. In this case, I'm only going to do that a little bit. So I'm going to actually change my lighting to this. Place it a little bit closer to Ian. A little bit down. Can you see through the grid?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to actually feather it away. So I'm asking him if he can see through the grid. So I know it's on the hotspot. And then I feather it away just slightly, so I know he's actually out of the hotspot. And why is he out of the hotspot? I want that background to be literally a little bit more dark. Okay, meter the light. 11 round, that's a coincidence. Okay. Let's go to F11, look down. Okay, shot 1. Oh, really like this one. There we go. So now I don't have any backdrop anymore. I have a black background and I really love this shot. Oh, by the way, do you want to know how fast these babies are on the normal setting? Watch this. And this is on pretty much F11. So we're giving them quite a lot of power. So let's try it out. Let's first go to low mode. This is 2-3 frames a second. Okay. And this is on battery power, guys. Okay, keeps up quiet. We only have 1 or 2 left. There we go. And this is on battery power. So 2-3 frames a second, and now it slows down just a little bit. But that's because it's on almost half power. So pretty fast for a battery system. That's cool. Okay, let's turn it to fast mode. Okay. Look down again. Okay, now it only missed 1. So, in case you're wondering, we tested that straight away because that's one of the questions that actually came in. So, we had to test that really fast for you guys. And the lower the power you set, of course, the faster the system will recycle. So, we're going to do that also in a moment. Yes, Annewiek, you have a question.
There's a question from Johan. The Beauty Dish has a white interior that usually gives more soft light. How do you get that harshness in the photo?
Okay, normally a Beauty Dish will have a white or silver inlay. I personally like the silver inlay a little bit more because it gives me more harshness in quality. This was just sent to us by Photoshoot this morning. So it's the first time we set everything up. And we're still getting used to everything. It's a smaller Beauty Dish, and in this case, I think I like the white interior. Now, how do we get that hardness? Very simple. It's still a hard quality of light because it's a really small Beauty Dish, and that's what I love. I don't like the big Beauty Dishes. The smaller ones give you way more specularity in your highlights, so it's a little bit more harsh. So that's what I actually love about them. Hey, but about this shot. I like a little bit less depth of field, so let's turn down the power. And let's try to get a really shallow depth of field. I'm going to go down. This is the lowest it can go. I don't know how low it is because the light is pretty close to the model. 2.8 round. Cool. Okay. So let's switch this to 2.8. And that's the cool thing about strobes that go down really low in power, like the ELCs from Ellingram. You can literally shoot with Beauty Dishes very close to the model on 2.8. So for all you guys out there that like shallow depth of field, that's really cool. That's nice. Chin up just a little bit. Nice. Okay, now that it's on a lower setting, I'm actually daring something. I'm actually going to try this out. And again, we only received this stuff today. So I'm now on the high setting. That's about 7 frames a second. Ooh, are you ready? Look straight into the light. Are you epileptic?
No.
Okay. Ooh, that's nice. 7 frames a second on a battery power, and it just keeps going. That's nice. Okay, when he looks up, I see that it's a little bit too hot, and I can also explain to you why. I metered from a very low angle, and it means that probably by feathering the light away with the grid, you really have to be careful. So let's meter that again. And let's meter it a little bit higher now, against his eyes. Ah, there we go, f4. So I'm actually a full stop off. Ah, the last picture it actually missed. Very impressive on battery power. That's cool. Okay. Okay, let's create something that's a little bit more intriguing. Can you look all the way up? And then center your eyes towards here. That's really nice. Love it. Okay, love this. Cool. Let's change the light a little bit more to the side. I'm not going to re-meter. There we go, do the same thing, look that way. You also see that I'm steering Ian by using my hands, because if you say left or right, it actually never works, because my left is his right, etc. Oh, really love this. But here you're going like, Frank, yeah, I need more separation from the side. That's actually why we have something else set up. A strip light from the side. So let's turn that one on. And I love strip lights, because strip lights are higher light sources, so they're longer, and you can actually really tailor your light with it. Okay, let's start out on the lowest setting. Now, am I going to meter this one? No. And the reason is, I sometimes call this cooking with light. You just add ingredients to your taste. So the main light I meter, and the other light, the accent lights, those I don't meter for the very simple reason I don't see the need for it, because if I meter it, I will very quickly be put in, okay, I have to put this on a 1:2 ratios or a 1:3 ratios, and you keep creating the same stuff over and over again. If I don't, and I just use it, I can really tailor-make that output for the thing that I like, or my client, of course. So let me see, we have to aim this a little bit at Ian's side. So let's put this all the way back to the wall, as far as it can go. And then feather it slightly towards Ian. There we go. Okay, are you ready? And look that way again. Really love this chin up. Eyes towards the light. And center your eyes. Wow. Nice. So now you get that really... Oh, I think I know why I see my exposure changing, by the way. Let me change this back to normal. On speed mode, it will try to recycle as fast as possible, and sometimes it doesn't reach the full potential. It's the same thing with small strobes, so it should be more equal now. Okay, do the same thing. There we go. Okay, try to move a little bit more that way. Perfect. Eye centered. Okay, now we get a more constant exposure, so that was the problem. Oh, really love this shot. And you know what would be cool too? Do you have something like a cigarette with you? You don't smoke, but...
I have one.
Yeah, but smoking is bad, boys and girls. But for photography, sometimes it's really cool. Oh, there is a question. Anouk.
I have a question. Are these awesome results still doable with small flash instead of strobe with beauty dishes and huge strip lights? Would the smaller light source make even harsher quality of light, which I like anyway?
Okay. The question is, can we do the same thing with normal small flash, so speed lights? Yes, of course. For the very simple reason, if you use speed lights, it's just a light source. Everything is just a light source. We can do stuff like this with a tungsten light bulb, as long as you can fit that modifier. Now, what do I mean with this? As long as you can fit a modifier around your light source, you can get exactly the same results. Now, with small strobes, you have to go to the website from Lestolite. And Lestolite has these really cool converters where you can do 1 or 2 small strobes inside, for example, their strip lights or their switch boxes. But they also have a really cool converter where you can use your Ellingrom gear on your speed lights. So you can use your beauty dish, you can use your softbox, you can use whatever you want on your speed lights. Personally, when you travel, I absolutely love the flashbenders. The Frank Doorhof flashbender, of course, personally. And the Switch Easy box. I believe it's called the Switch Easy box from Lestolite. It's the Easy Box 2. And you can make a strip light out of it and a square. And it folds up really small. And they also have a newer one now that's really small. And it can also use a grid. Those are also awesome. Oh, you have more questions, Annewiek?
Hi, this one is from Ineke. Do you ever use a shorter strip light?
Okay, do I ever use a shorter strip light? It depends. This one is, again, sent to us this morning. This is the one that I really like. This is the size that I like. The shorter ones are also cool, but you have to remember with a strip light, there's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. The light, especially when you use a grid, travels straight through. So that means if you want your face of your model to be correctly lit, and you angle your strip light a little bit, it also means that the strip light has to go up. So the bottom part of the strip light, you always lose your light. So if you use a very short one, it actually means it's only fit for portraits. So you get, for example, a 1 meter one, and you think, okay, that's for 1 meter of the body. No, it isn't. The face has to be in the middle if you use a grid, because as soon as you angle it, you will lose that top part a little bit of light. So the hotspot will be on the chest. So you have to move that source up. So that's one of the problems. Another question. Oh, the questions are coming in.
Is there a pose to keep the head in a more masculine way to see more jawlines and get a stronger face?
Even more stronger than this? Who did ask that question? Oh, even more stronger than this. Oh my. Whew, Ian. More stronger than this. Oh my. Flex your muscles of your jaw. There we go. Okay, I think we can do something. Look a little bit that way and just hold that cigarette a little bit. There we go. Okay, this looks a little bit more like a UK gangster. Oh, that was my fault. I did something wrong. So now we have a little bit more of a moody look, a little bit. Add a little bit of smoke and you're done. We don't do smoke today, don't worry. Okay, the other thing is if you put down the cigarette, just drop it. That's what you should do with cigarettes. Just look that way a little bit. There we go. So I'm now letting him look down, getting a more aggressive look. And of course I'm asking him not to close his eyes, but he already does. And the reason is if you don't have light in the eyes, it's very obvious. Now, if you make somebody close his eyes, you can actually see that, well, there are no eyes, so it's not that bad that they're black. Okay, just let them look up again into the light source. There we go. Can you cross your arms for me? There we go. And this will give it a little bit more power. Tilt your head that way. Perfect. Center your eyes. And look down a little bit. Awesome. Now, of course, now he has wide shoulders. What we can also try to do is just move him a little bit. So tilt. Perfect. And look down. There we go. That's absolutely awesome. Chin up just a little bit. So now you can see the differences in jawline by just moving him up a little bit. Eyes towards the light. And eyes down a little bit. There we go. Eyes up just a little bit. It's very sensitive how I coach my model because I have to make sure that my model keeps at ease. But if you constantly keep shooting and changing the pose, that's okay. But don't do it like, okay, move, 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 move. No, that's not good. Move and then shoot. Constantly keep shooting because then the model really eases into that flow. Anyway, you had another question.
This might also be interesting. If you switch from portraits, for example, to half body, would you place the strip light further to the front to get more light to Ian?
That's a good question. If I change from portraits to full body or half body, should I change the strip light? Let's try it out. I'm going to stand a little bit more to the back. I'm going to switch to half body. Oh, I changed something on my camera. Sorry, guys. That's why the shots are a little bit darker. That was totally my mistake. There we go. So now I switch to half body. Should I change the strip light? Well, I think it's pretty cool the way that it is. What we could do is, of course, just try it out. Because that's what Digital Classroom is for. You guys ask, I do. So let's change it a little bit here. And of course, he's wearing a dark suit. Let's open the power just a little bit. There we go. So we're giving him a little bit more light. Okay, do that again. I'm so sorry, you have to look away. And there we go. I personally like the other stuff better, but this is pretty doable. And of course now you want a little bit more light on his other shoulder, right? Well, we can do that too. Because light falls off over the distance, it means that if I move this light further away, I also get a little bit more spread. So let's open up this a little bit. There we go. Remeter, of course. Always metering, Ian, sorry. I never say sorry to your models, by the way. F4. 2.87 actually. Okay, let's change this. There we go. Okay, give it real power, like boom. There we go. That's nice. Let's also shoot one in portrait mode, which I don't like normally. But I think with Ian we can do this. Nice. So as you can see, by moving my light further away, I do get a little bit more of a... I don't get that closeness in my light that I like. I do see that the lights are fluctuating just a little bit. I think it's because we're shooting on batteries and I'm shooting rather fast. But overall, I like it closer, a little bit better. So let's try this. Let's make it really dark. Go to the back. There we go. And let's change this one all the way to the back and let Ian step one step forward. Perfect. He's a great model, you know. Some models, when you say one step forward, they go like, okay. And a real model should do this, like one step, okay, that's this. So Ian, you rock. Okay, let me see, let me put this here. And I want to do you no harm, of course, but, and then that way, towards the light in a moment. Oops. Okay, 2.8. Let me try this out.
There is a question about light meter.
Okay, I will answer that in a second. Okay, first let me check the lighting very quickly if I like it. Really love this. Okay, hit the light source. One without hitting it. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, a little bit closer, like, yes, that's it. Love it. Step one, step that one. Very, very slightly. Yes, there we go. There we go. There we go. Lower your arms and just hold your reverse like this. Both. Like James Bond. Awesome. So now what you can see is because we're using more side lighting, you get a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. And now actually the strip light, for my taste, is a little bit too harsh. So let's turn that down for the final shots. And then I'm going to answer the question about the light meter. Okay, there we go. Okay, just look straight at me. Let me see what happens. I don't know if I like this, but oh, that's pretty dark. You rock. A little bit more that way. Awesome. Love a chin up. Eye centered. Awesome. Okay, and now the final shot, of course, we have to do with the color checker, because we have to make sure that all the colors are equal. And Anouk, what was the question about the light meter?
It's about metering.
Yes?
You are metering with the dome of the light meter out. Isn't it better to do so with the dome inside, more directed to the light source?
No, you always meter with the dome extended because you want a 360-degree metering. Oh, sorry, you want a round metering. If you do it with the dome extracted, that's more for flat surfaces like paintings or art or reproduction work. In front of your face. Okay. So why do we shoot the color checker? Very simple. We want to make sure that the colors are constant and equal in quality. By the way, do you want to see how a flat image looks? That's around this. So look straight into the light. And eyes towards me. There we go. So this is more straight on, and I don't like that per se. So let's get down to the computer, and let's show you guys what you can do in a little bit of retouching. Because that's, of course, also part of Digital Classroom. We want to show you everything. And after that, I'm also going to do a photo critique this time. So let's move away the cables. And let's switch first to me. Okay, there we go. Now, if you have any questions in between, feel free to ask. I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. Cheers, guys. It's really, really hot. And we can't do any fans at the moment because then it really gets hot. Of course, why we can't do any fans is, of course, because of the wind noise. Okay, let me do some questions in between. Can you please show us how to use the color checker in Capture One? I wish. No. There is an option for Capture One, but it's troublesome. What you can do in Capture One is, and that's one of the things that I really advise you guys to do if you use a color checker, is actually go to your color checker shot and just do this. Take the white balance picker, select it, and select one of these three squares. So this one, or that one. And then just select all images that you shot, of course, with those strobes. There you go. And just do adjustments, copy and apply. Copy and apply. And now they all have the same color temperature. Now I have to be honest, the quality that actually x-rite gives you in Lightroom is awesome. The difference between using a color checker and not using a color checker is huge. The difference in Capture One, in all honesty, the presets that Capture One gives you are pretty much spot on for cameras. So, do I really need it? Let me put it this way. Lightroom versus color checker. Lightroom itself, great program. I use it all the time. I'm a big Adobe fan. Trust me, I couldn't live without it. But the thing is also that Lightroom is great for handling your catalog, for doing everything else with smart albums, the map mode, printing, books, whatever. But the raw converter, I like just a little bit more in Capture One for the cameras I use. So Sony and of course Mamiya Leaf. So if I look at Lightroom without any color modification from the color checker, I prefer not use the color checker. In other words, with the color checker, it just looks way better. And the software performs great under Lightroom. It's just a simple export and you're done. The weird thing, by the way, was on the Mac, it never worked for higher resolution cameras. On the PC, I don't even have to crop, so that's weird. Normally, you expect Mac to work better. The other thing is, when you go into Capture One, I would still prefer to use a color checker because, hey, I'm a control freak. I just love to know exactly what my colors are. But because it doesn't support it and the built-in presets are pretty good, you don't really miss it. But still, if I want accurate colors, for example, if we shoot something for a designer or if we shoot something that has to be color correct, I will literally go into Lightroom and do the whole stuff there with, for example, DxO optics or Lightroom itself. So that answers that question, I think. And my buddy Glyn Dewis is online. Hello, Glyn, how are you? Is it still hot in England? I guess it is. Let me see. You can't see the funny face he made on the color checker. No, I know that's something we sometimes do with our female models, but male models can actually hit back, so we don't do that. Okay, so let me see what we can do in Photoshop with these. Now, these shots are pretty standard. Let me switch over to full screen, otherwise you're going to see my face constantly, and I don't want people to switch away because they see my face. Let me go here. And there we go. And by the way, it's awesome that now when I press left and right, it actually immediately works. And it's no delay, as you can see. It's pretty fast. Don't tell Ian. Okay, so let me first go to these setups. Now, these were done with only the beauty dish from the side. Let's just delete those. And I like them, but I really miss that side lighting. So that's why later on, I actually started using that side lighting. This was done on a high speed mode, so let's delete those two. There we go. Okay, love this shot. But again, I missed that side lighting, although here it's really nice. So let's give that 5 stars. I will retouch that later after Digital Classroom for Ian. Okay. Love this one. Give it 5. Love this one. This one is awesome. Great. Really like this one. I don't like cigarettes, but man, does he work it here. I don't like it when it puts it in his mouth, so let's take those out. Again, it's the first time we're shooting with the Photix, and on the batteries they sometimes do flux a little bit, as you can see here on the EC powers. We already tested them in the past and they don't change in output, so don't worry, this is just on the battery packs. Love this shot, but not good enough. Here we used a little bit more of the side lighting, and in all honesty, I don't like that per se. I like this shot. The boxing moves are okay. Should be a little bit more powerful, I think. Yeah. Okay. And these were straight on, which I do like, but they're just a little bit too darkish. And I really like this one. Okay, let me see what we selected. Now, I always have Capture One set up on rating, so I will actually see what rating they get. So I really love this one, but I'm not going to retouch that one now. So let me see which one I like more. Now, here is face. If you look really close, you can see that its face gives a little bit more of an egg shape. While here, it's much more muscular. So I'm going to take that one out. Love this one. And let me see which one I like more. The other one is more distant, so I like that one. This one is even better. And the thing is, now look at the eyes. This is so cool to see now in 2 shots right next to each other. They look almost the same. But look at the distance, or sorry, the difference the eyes make, sorry guys. You see this? Here you have an okay shot. As soon as you move to this one, everything just clicks for me. So we're going to take that one out. There we go. Love this one. Now, this is something that I talked about a while ago when doing sports photography. And someone actually online gave me a remark that I didn't like. And sometimes, you know what, trolls are online. So what is one of the tips I always give people that shoot sports? If you shoot sports and you, for example, shoot motocross and you have your whole bike in the frame, that's an okay shot. But if you crop out slightly part of the head and slightly part of the wheel, it looks like they're so close that you couldn't even capture it at all. Now, the remark I got online was, dude, learn how to shoot. I think that's a wrong expression, because very simple. What is shooting and what is cropping? It's storytelling. And the story is way more powerful if something is close up to you than further away. So let's take a look at these 2 shots, for example. Now, the only difference is actually that he's a little bit closer because I stepped forward. The thing you see is actually, because I stepped forward, also the angle changes. You see that? It's like, oh, sorry. It's like you literally move in. The hand is getting closer, and that's because I'm shooting a wider angle. In that case, I'm shooting, what did I shoot? 62 mil and 56 here. So I'm shooting slightly wider here, but still I move in. And you get this shot. And this is so much more powerful for me. So let's take that one out. And I really love these shots. I don't know if I like them more than the other ones. I actually like this one more. Okay, let me see what we kept. Okay, let me just retouch one of these. Let me take this one. Okay, now what do you do with a male model? Well, you shoot him, of course. But what do you do afterwards? And in this case, let me switch over to full desktop again so you guys can see what I'm doing. So, male model, yeah. Do we do anything differently? I don't know. Let me try something. The first thing, of course, is skin. Do I really need to retouch his skin? Let me go up close. Nope. Ian has perfect skin. I love a little bit of his beard. Actually, this shot looks already retouched. So the only thing I have to do is actually go into my settings, my user styles, and just go to one of my user styles and just choose what I like. Now look at the difference you immediately see when you start doing user styles. The image totally changes. Do you see this? And this is only tinting. And luckily Capture One is now also way faster than before because we don't stream via desktop presenter, but we're literally hardwired into Wirecast. Okay, looks great, but I'm not going to do this because you guys also want to see Photoshop, of course. Okay, let's go into Photoshop with this one. So let's go into Photoshop. Come on. There we go. Ah, okay. If there are any questions in between, just let me know.
Only compliments.
Okay, let me see if we have any questions here. I think Capture One has better colors, especially for Sony cameras. Yes, I think so too, Slutko. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Okay, so we're now into Photoshop, and one of the things that I always like to do is first just go in and use my healing brush. And the reason I'm using the healing brush is because I want to be in control of what I do. Now, there are two different healing brushes. There's one that's called the spot healing brush, and this is for people that like it. What you do is you just paint over it, and Photoshop will actually determine itself what you need. And most of the time that works pretty well, as you can see here, but sometimes it can really mess up. And what I like to do is I like to have a little bit more control. So I actually use the old healing brush, and that's this one. And now I have to sample and actually do this. And guys, I'm just looking from the corner of my eye, and it's amazing to see that there's absolutely, yesterday in the vlog I said there was like a 1 second delay. And I deinstalled Presenter, and I have to be honest, at this moment I don't see any delay at all between the hardwiring, and that's actually what I expected. And it's a Magewell, and I highly, highly recommend it. I will put it in the descriptions below after the show, so where you can order it on Amazon, because this is absolutely an amazing device if you do stuff like this, because you can literally hardwire straight into Wirecast. And it's everything with HDMI, so you can do your Blu-ray player on 4K and it will downsample it to 2K, so Wirecast can actually use it. Okay, well, let's not do anything more because he actually doesn't need it. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's more like second nature, I guess. Okay, let's try something with the looks in this shot. Okay, one of the most asked questions is always, how do you get a little bit more of a rough look? Now, let me try this. Let me do a new layer, and this is just an empty layer. And I go back to the bottom layer. Now you have to realize that in Photoshop, and actually in whole life, that there are actually 3 colors that we see. Sorry, I have to go down to another computer, one moment. Switch over, there we go. Okay, so there are 3 colors we actually see, red, green, and blue. Now those are the primary colors. And I know there's somebody out there that goes like, Frank, that's wrong. It's not wrong. The 3 primary colors are red, green, and blue. The secondary colors are cyan, magenta, and yellow. Now, if you have a printer, you use a CMYK, K, and K is actually not black, it's luminance. And often it's used, of course, black, because with black you can change the luminance of a color, but that's maybe a little bit too technical. So we have red, green, and blue. And those are called channels. Now those 3 channels combined will actually give you the look of an image. Now if you look at the old days, for example with Technicolor or any other form of manipulation of color, they often played around with those colors, those color channels. For example, do twice red, green and blue, and you get a different look. So we can do the same thing, only we're going to do it slightly different. We're going to give it a modern twist. And I'm going to show you how. And it's a really simple trick and it's absolutely awesome. So we go to channels. And you have to make sure that you're on your background layer. So go to channels and go to your red channel and just see how it looks. It looks nice for the skin, right? Go to your blue channel. Ooh, that looks really nice and rough. So let's take this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do select, and of course I know the shortcuts, but I want to show you guys. Select all, edit, copy. Turn them all on, go to your layers, go to your empty layer and do edit, paste. There we go. So now I have a blue channel on top of my normal image. It's already looking great. Now of course you can change your opacity and make it like a more desaturated look, but I don't like that. Let's go here, normal, and go to soft light. And now you have that really harsh, almost film noir-like look. Change the opacity to your taste, for example here. And now the only thing I have to do is remember this, let me see, 58%. Go to a layer, flatten image, and now go into saturation of your color and just bump down the saturation. There you go. And now if you want to open up the eyes just a little bit, and I'm not a big fan of this, but just a little bit is okay. Let's go in and just open up this. There we go. Oh, by the way, while you're watching this, feel free to subscribe. The last few weeks have been amazing for us. We got a lot of new subscribers in, and I try to give you guys as much as information as possible. So we really appreciate those shout outs and subscriptions. Okay, now I want a little bit more detail here in the how do you call it? Yeah, how do you call that? Strobe does. Anyway, in this thing. So let's do something else that's really cool. Layer, new layer. And now you have an option for mode. And let's switch that to soft light. And then you have an extra option, as you can see here, fill with neutral gray. Do that. There we go. Now the cool thing is we have a layer that doesn't do anything. So it's a very lazy layer. But it's also a very cool layer because now when I use a brush with white paint, I can actually make stuff appear. There we go. And here. And maybe a little bit on his here, his hair. There we go. Really like this. Maybe a little bit here. Okay, of course this is way too much. I actually don't like that last part. Now just go it all the way down. Oh, it's a tie, of course. And just open it up. Do you see this? So if you lower your light a little bit on your strip light, you can get it back. Well, don't do it, of course, because it's better to do it while you're shooting. But if you mess up, don't tell anybody. Just do it like this. Okay, I think this is great. Now the cool thing is, because I now know what I did, I can actually do this. File close, yes. Switch over again to capture one and go to this shot, open it up, and now watch this. This is really cool because now, because I know what I did, I can actually go in and very quickly take out the areas where I don't want any details showing up. Okay, and normally I do it a little bit nicer, but that's okay. Open up his eyes by using the dodge tool. And don't ever do the eye white, only do the iris, because otherwise it looks really weird. And now what I did is I actually created an action a while ago called Paint with Light, but also an action called a blue channel. And what it does is actually it makes a layer, it selects the background, selects the blue channel, set a selection, copy, select layer, paste, current layer. Whew. What does it do? Well, actually when you press play, it just places the blue layer on top. 58%. Yeah, 57, that's okay. Lower, layer, flatten image, go into saturation and just lower the saturation slightly. There we go. And now because of course I'm feeling a little bit sorry I showed you guys that trick, because now I have to do it on all the shots. And let's open up a little bit here. And as you can see, I'm literally overdoing it a lot. And the reason is you can better overdo it because then you can see what you're doing. And then later just back down the effect with your opacity slider. Okay, there we go. A little bit on his hair. And this is such a powerful technique if you are starting out with lighting and you want to make sure that you hit everything correctly and you have a little bit of trouble with that. Just use this technique to just add a little bit towards. Okay, now that you can see that I've done it a little bit too sloppy over here, I'm going to show you another trick that's really cool with this. Is because it's a layer, you can use a so-called layer mask. So in this case I'm going to do a reveal all, that means show everything, and you see a white piece of paper on top of that little mask. Sorry, that little layer here. Now I can actually use a brush and paint that out. So let me do this, and let's lower the opacity. I'm just going to make it a little bit more flow. Okay, because I just want the effect in there very, very slightly. So I now overdid it a little bit. So let's change back to white and the brush. And just be very, very careful. There we go. This is what I want. Okay, cool. So before, after, and now just use your opacity slider again. And there we go. Awesome. And flatten your image. And you see that the second image goes way faster than the first one. And this is because you're actually developing something we call a workflow. And that workflow is very important because if you have a workflow, you can actually constantly repeat the same quality of images over and over again. And that's because we use a color checker, we use a light meter, we make sure that everything just fits together. And well, that just makes it more powerful in your editing workflow. Okay, Anne-Wieke, is Ian changing?
Yes, he is.
Okay, cool. Any questions in between? I see there's a lot of questions, so let me see it. Between image normal portraiture and the action I made is a difference between 2 seconds, so why bother? Oh, this is actually about using an action that my buddy Glyn has made or using image normal portraiture. You know, you can talk a lot about this, and there's one big difference. For an action, you don't have to pay anything. You can create it. For commercial plugins, you have to pay a lot of money. Now, the thing is, and this is the thing that you have to realize, if you are satisfied with one look, an action is great. And of course you can change opacity and other settings. The cool thing about image normal portraiture is not that it just smoothens the skin. What it does is you can change what it does with the skin. So there are a lot of settings inside that plugin that makes it really, really easy to use. And overall, if you don't have any money to spend, go for an action. And Glyn recently got one online that's really great. If you do have the money to spend and you do a lot of retouching, I would actually advise image normal portraiture because you're just a little bit more flexible. But hey, it's $200. If you want it a little bit cheaper, go for Topaz Clean 3. That has a really good skin retouching option. So yeah, those are the two that I really advise. Okay, any other questions? Frank, Calvin Hollywood has made a Photoshop action called Freaky Details. Would you use that one on male subjects? First of all, I don't think it was from Calvin Hollywood, but from somebody else. And that was many years before, and I don't know the name of the guy. And I played with it when I started doing Photoshop. So that's about, I think, 10 years ago. And what it did was actually something similar that Calvin later did. I like those actions a lot, but I'm more into the Topaz clarity. You see something going, I love to do it with plugins. And the reason is, I'm always busy, and with a plugin I can just make a preset and do it. With an action I can do the same thing, but at one point there will be so many actions, and with a plugin I can just change very quickly some stuff that I like to change. For me it's just better. And in all honesty, the Topaz plugins are really cheap, and if you are even cheaper, get the Nik suite as long as it works, because they literally stopped supporting Nik, which I think is the worst mistake ever, but okay. Let me see if there are any more questions on a week?
No.
Okay, by the way, if you like Ian and you like Rosa, our model, make sure you check out an instructional video that's coming out really soon, probably in July, from my buddy Glyn Dewis. Because in our studio, believe it or not, we were both together and he filmed a tutorial with Ian and Rosa. And I already saw it. Well, I saw the part that he filmed here. And it was absolutely cool. So make sure you check that one out. On the topic of tutorials, we had a question about Capture One. And I actually did a whole tutorial on Capture One a while ago. And I think we are now actually offline because something goes wrong with Wirecast. And if I'm not offline, bear with me. Let's hope Wirecast reboots itself. I hope. I just keep talking because at the moment I'm looking at a frozen frame. So let's see if Wirecast reboots itself. I can still see myself. So I guess it still works. But I'm actually stuck on one input screen. And I can't do anything.
But you are not disconnected.
No, I'm not disconnected, so that's weird because the whole interface just froze. And I'm stuck on my webcam, so awesome. Okay, let me see. Wait for the program to respond, okay? We did a long test run with Wirecast a while ago and it worked. And this week we had an upgrade to 7.7, which is my lucky number. So I thought, you know what, just do the 7.7 upgrade. And now it just freezes on me. And I hope it responds in a moment. So let me see if I do something else on another screen. I'm still trying to do this, guys. Wirecast, wait for the program to respond. Wait for the program to respond. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the live stream again and just hope that time it will stay online. So I'm going to close this one. Don't worry, we will be back with part 2. Let's call it a break. So we'll be right back after this break. Same time, same bad channel. Actually, exactly the same time because restarting only takes 10 seconds. So we'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Okay, if I'm correct, we are live again. I don't know what happens. If anybody has experience with Wirecast and knows what happens. So, yeah, we're back. Okay, so we're talking about Capture One and I recently did a video on it. And it's a really affordable one. I believe it's now sold for like 15 euros. So let's see the trailer for that one. Great shot. Hey guys, I'm Frank Doorhof. I'm the writer of the best-selling book, Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, during my workshops, I get a lot of questions about people. What about raw developing? How to set my camera? Do I need Adobe RGB? Do I need sRGB? There are many questions out there. And the best thing to start with is use Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. That's where you start. But after that, if you want a little bit more quality, if you shoot a lot of tethered setups, Capture One is actually one of the best programs out there. It isn't the best in library modes. It isn't the best in map modes. That's where we still use Lightroom. But Capture One is an awesome RAW developer. Now, what is a RAW developer and why is it important? Think about the old days when we had film. The choice of chemicals and the choice of film made a huge difference. The same film developed in different chemicals gave you totally different end result. The model was still the model, the landscape was still the same landscape, but you get more definition from one chemical. Or you get a little bit more detail or a little bit different colors. Also depending on the process. And that actually is the same thing for the new digital sensors. A digital sensor records a raw image. There's no color space attached to a raw image. It's the raw image. You have to attach a color space yourself. This is also one of the most heard problems during, for example, social media stuff. How do I set my camera? If you shoot JPEG, choose sRGB or Adobe RGB. If you shoot RAW, it doesn't matter because the RAW file is the RAW file. There's no color profile attached. That's what you do in your RAW converter as soon as you go to JPEG or TIFF. And most workflows, of course, will be TIFF 16 bits because then you have a lot of stuff to work with. And then you can use the bigger color spaces. But hey, I'm getting way ahead of this stuff. I don't want to teach you too much because this is a promo for a new video I created. Now, next to Lightroom, one of the most famous and best known RAW developers is of course Capture One. And Capture One has had a turbulent experience for me. It started when I shot medium format, I needed Capture One. And now when I shoot Sony and even when I shot Canon, I quickly found out that the raw developing of Capture One was awesome. But a lot of people have a lot of questions about how does it work. With Lightroom I know how everything works, but how does it work in Capture One? And that's why we created this video for you guys. It's a total walkthrough about how I set up Capture One to work with Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop, because those are still my main programs. Capture One is used for raw developing, and it does such an amazing job at that. So check out the video on Capture One raw developing workflow from me, Frank Doorhof. And I'm sure if you have any questions about Capture One, they will be answered in that video. New York, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful places in the world for street photography. In this video, Beyond Snaps New York, we're not only gonna show you tips and tricks about gear, getting great shots, locations, how to talk to people, and much more, but we're also gonna show you some places that you may or may not have heard of New York. How about 2 Chinatowns? You probably know one. We actually found another one that's way more interesting. How about a location where you can get great night shots? Or Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, Amityville. This video is jam-packed with not only photography tips and techniques, but also great locations to visit when you go to the New York area. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy this video. In my opinion, it's one of the best we ever made. So enjoy Beyond Snaps to New York. Okay, sorry guys, we had to do 2 commercials very quickly because behind the scenes we were trying to figure out what went wrong and we still don't know it, but let's just hope that it doesn't happen again. Okay, so second set with Ian. Are you guys ready? If you have any questions in between, feel free to ask. If you still have a refrozen screen, like somebody has, try to just renew it because we started a new stream, so it should work now. Ian changed into something casual, something that feels a little bit better. Ladies, hide, because here we have our woodchucker. Hey Ian. Ah, look at those guns. My, now I feel like a really not so muscular guy. Okay, so what are we gonna do? I think with this setup, Ian, I think I want you to be leaning against the wall and maybe even a little bit here if the cameras can pick that up. Can the cameras pick up if we move in here? Yeah. Okay, lighting wise, strip light, without any doubt. Side lighting, a little bit more aggressive lighting. So let's try that, even more aggressive than that one. Can you imagine? Oh. Okay, so let me see what we can do. So we're gonna move this. And let me start out by doing it just straight on the model, so you guys can see the difference. So we're going to do some different stuff with the strip light, so I can show you all the different ways you can use this amazing modifier. Are you ready? Are you feeling better now, right?
I'm feeling better.
Yeah, because it's so hot. 1.43. So let's move that up in power. There we go. 4.03, so that's 4.0 and then 1 click up on the camera. And by the way, in between we checked and it's indeed the battery power that can give a little bit of a fluctuation on the photics. If you use the AC, there's no problem at all. Okay, 4.5. Let me see if the camera is connected. I think so. Anyway, can you still see the, how do you call that? Capture one in screen? So you have picture in picture now? Yeah. Okay. Gonna do one straight on. There we go. Let me see if that image comes in. There we go. Really love this. It's very, very harsh. But let me go from a slightly lower angle. There we go. Love it. Let me just close down a little bit. Nice. So I really like this, but you know what? It's not really a frank shot. It's more like a flat-on shot. What are you laughing, Anouk? Oh my. Ian, you're not allowed to come back anymore, I think. Anouk has a smile from here till Tokyo. Should I worry?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You will see it the entire day.
Oh my. Okay, let's put the strip light here so Anouk can't see Ian anymore. And, oh, she sees him on the cameras, of course. And let's just twist the strip. So let's do this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to raise the strobe all the way up. And then just aim it down on him. If it falls down, you earned it. I'm just kidding a little bit with my model, guys. We know each other for a long time. Ian has done everything here, even wearing a tutu once. I won't show him those shots. Those were absolutely amazing, by the way. He's a trooper that he did it. Can you get me my light meter? And that's the cool thing about great models. They are not afraid to experiment. And the result was awesome.
It was.
There we go. 5.63, that's actually 5.6 and one click up. So, grab the camera, go to 5.6 and then one click up, 6.3. Okay, and now look at the difference. So now I use it as a more like a top light. Chin up just a little bit. Really nice. And this gives you a totally different look, more like a different kind of beauty dish. It gives you a really nice harsh quality of light and it just feathers down nicely on the model. You had any question, Anouk, that came in? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What is the question? That's nice. What is the question, Anouk?
Did you ever use two strip lights?
Yes, we use two strip lights a lot. But from Photix we only have one now. Turn down the microphone, Anouk. So, this is okay, but now we want more tension in the shot because we want to show a little bit more of his muscles, and from the top side that's already better than before because now we're actually doing three-dimensionality in our lighting. By changing the lighting under an angle, you create three-dimensionality. Now we want to do that even more. So I'm going to pick up my strobe and I'm actually going to do this. So I'm going to place it really close to the wall and feather it away from my model. Lower it. Just a little bit. There we go. And of course we have to remeter. Now some people will tell you like, oh man, do you see Frank remetering all the time? That's a disadvantage of a meter. You know what? If I remeter, I know immediately how to set up my camera. And normally I don't talk so much about metering. Anouk, why are you smiling? Do you have more questions? Okay. It's the same setup, so that's a coincidence. Okay, just look a little bit down. There we go. Okay, and now tilt your body that way. And yes, there we go. Look at that. That's absolutely awesome. Now the cool thing is, I can actually start walking around my model. So for example, I can move here. Don't fall. And I can shoot into the light. And if I crop correctly, I don't even see my light source. Look that way. Perfect. And of course you can choose, and that's the nice thing about flip-up screens, to shoot from a higher angle down, give it even more power. Actually not, makes them look smaller, but then I feel better. Or if you want to give them more power, shoot up. Ooh. Wow. Do that again. Damn, wow. Oh, can't say that. That's really nice. Wow. Now that's what I call muscles. Ah. Any questions? No? Okay, let's lower this again. And move this down. And then shift it again. So let's do this. And that's the cool thing about strip lights. You can use them in many different ways. A lot of people don't do that, and that's a shame because it really gives you totally different options. Okay, and now we're going to feather it. So I'm literally going to aim it at my model first, and then we're going to feather that light. So it's very close. 5.69, that's f8. Because 5.6 and then 9/10 of an f-stop, that's almost f8. If you want to know more about it, we made a great video about the light meter. I'm not going to show you the trailer today. Okay, f8. Let me see. Look a little bit down. There we go. And put your hands, yes. As you can see, I'm using a lot of the same poses to show you guys the different qualities of light. And of course you can play around with poses a lot. Now because the light is really close to the model, it means that if he just moves an inch, there will be a totally different look, but that's no problem, we can always correct that in Photoshop, or Lightroom, or Capture One. Okay, there's still a lot of light on the background, and I want to change that a little bit. Yes, Anouk?
Johan often forgets to turn his modeling light down, so his model is blind now.
Okay.
Another question is, in this situation, how can you use a second light for background?
In this situation, this is actually my second light for the background. So I'm using the strip light also as a background light. So I'm not using an extra light. What you could do is, let me do that. Daisy, can you very quickly change the beauty dish for a reflector with a grid and a red gel? If it works, very quickly. Oh, you're gonna get the whole deal. Okay, let me switch this one all the way to the front. So I'm now actually feathering the light a lot. So that means that I need a lot more light output. Just let's put it on half power. Aim it a little bit more towards Ian. Now I'm blind. 11.4. So let's go down. So that's 11 now. Okay. So now I've feathered it, and now you can see that the background gets a totally different look, and Ian too, of course. Okay, it just hit me. 1, 2, 3, go. And again, 1, 2, 3, go. Haha. That arm is a little bit too high. With the next one, it's a little bit lower. And of course, we now want a little bit more red on the gel. So we're going to change the beauty dish for red gel. I'm going to help you. Let's just change this one. There we go.
There's another question. To get the background darker, would you move Ian 2 steps forward? Or
Yes.
does that make a difference? Yeah.
Yes, if I want the background totally dark, I would move Ian 2 steps forward, or, well, in all honesty, I like the background the way it is, because that's why we use this background, in all honesty. So let's just do this.
And another question is, you don't have a filter on?
On what?
In real life, on the computer, in real life, he has a kind of a reddish skin.
Yes, he does. He's a redhead.
But there's no filter on.
No, there's no filter on at the moment. No, that's what I like about him. Well, there are more things we like about Ian. He's just a cool guy. But also that, well, we like a little bit more rough. I don't know how this is going to turn out, so just act normal. There we go. Did that one fire? It did, right? But I don't see it in the frame. Let's try that again. Yes, it does fire. Okay, now we're using that red gel on the side. And as you can see now, we're having a little bit of a red issue. Yeah. A little bit of a red issue, Ian. Okay, there we go. Let's give it a little bit more. Okay, now using color gels is something that's truly amazing because you can give a totally different atmosphere to a shot. Let me see what we can do. Just cross your arms again. It has to be constantly almost the same. That's boring. I know. Don't hit me. So now I have a lot of red coming from that side. So as you can see now, that doesn't make any sense. You see it? It's yeah, I don't know. It's only on his face. So Daisy, can you take the grid off? And we're going to lower the output a lot.
There's another question.
Okay, another question. That's the nice thing about digital classrooms. You guys can interact with me.
It's from Cindy.
Hello, Cindy.
Does the light in the studio affect the settings? It looks very bright. Well,
Okay.
that's true.
Does the lighting in the studio affect the settings? No. As long as I stay above, let's say 2.8 with a 50th of a second, because we have the LED goes on and they actually do give a lot of light. But on F11 or F16 or F8 or even 5.6, there won't be any interference. Okay, let me see what we got now. And again, this is cooking. I'm just testing it out. Really like this, but it's still way too bright on the red. Although, I actually like this. Okay. Now the thing is, everything is set up correctly, right? So the model is set up correctly, the lighting on the model is set up correctly, but it doesn't capture me as a great shot. It's a mediocre shot. It's something that I go like, yeah, well, okay. So let me change some stuff. Let me add this a little bit more towards my model. So he's now getting a little bit more lighting. And again, this is a creative process. I'm just setting up. That's nice. Let's move it a little bit forward. So a little bit more of his face is actually going to be lit and a little bit of the background. And again, I'm just setting up. And I think this is going to be one of the poses straight on into the camera. There we go. That's awesome. The thing is, the light from the main light is absolutely correct. But in this case, it looks absolutely wrong. I want more atmosphere in my shot. Now you have to realize a light meter is a very important tool. It's the tool of photographers. It's the tool in which you can see how to set up your lighting. If you want it correct. Now in this case, I don't want it correct anymore. I'm going to underexpose this by a lot. I'm going to go all the way down. There we go. I want real power. That's nice. Okay, now this is a little bit too much. Now you see there's too much red, but you already see where we're going. So let's add a stop and a half. There we go, this is way better. Really love this. That's nice. It reminds me a little bit of a Logan. For guys who are not familiar with this, Wolverine. The beard, yes. It's a dead giveaway, right? Okay, now it's very underexposed. Let me see if I like that. Just have to look at the monitor if I really like that look. Maybe a little bit more. There we go, that's it. Ooh, love this. Okay, now I really want to see like a power, like a Wolverine look. Ready to fight. Chin up. You can almost hear him growl. That's awesome. Love this. Really nice. Arms up just a little bit because I'm shooting from a lower angle. Higher angle. Now you can put your arms a little bit more down. I'm shooting from a lower angle. Give you a little bit more power. There we go. Absolutely awesome. Nice. Final shots. That's cool. Keep that. Do that again. Damn. Really nice. Okay, final shot. It's gonna go for an effect shot. Let me see if it works. Okay, do one step forward. Another step forward. And stop. I'm gonna put this one on full blast. Okay, full power. Let's just hope that this works. Okay, let me see that I get that strobe in. Oops. There we go. Okay, that's too much. Let's turn that one towards me. Okay. What I want to do is get a little bit of lens flare from the sides. That's without. There we go. Really like this. There we go. Okay, let's see what we can do in Photoshop and do some questions. And we're going to do a photo critique for you guys. Really like this.
There is a question.
Yes.
Why don't you use a color checker now?
Okay, gonna explain that in a second. Okay, don't break your neck, Anouk. Okay, one of the questions. Why don't you use a color checker now? First of all, I used the color checker in the first setup. Of course, it's a different modifier, and for color temperature, you should actually shoot the color checker again. I didn't do it because I know I want to change the colors later. With strobes and gels, this is a tip in between. Always do the color checker and profiling without the gels. As soon as you put the gels on, it means that it will give you literally the value for that gel. If you do the color checker with the gel, it will just neutralize the gel, of course. But it's very important. Some people tell you, if you shoot with gels, you don't need a color checker. That's not true. If you shoot with gels, you do need a color checker if you want to reproduce that same look over and over again. So make sure you shoot the color checker always on the natural looking strobe. And then you add your gel. Okay, let me see. You have made book where light meter is 2. Yes, we made a book where there's a lot of explanation about light meter, actually called Mastering the Model Shoot. Since Ian is a bit reddish himself, you're now using a red gel, but what gel would you use to compensate the red? In other words, what's the opposite of red? It's very simple. If you look at the triangle, you have green on top, you have red on that side and blue all the way down. The opposite of red is actually on the other side, so that's cyan. But why do you want to compensate for red? That's the cool thing about Ian. He's red. So that's the best thing ever. So yeah, I don't want to compensate for that. I actually love that he's red. So let's go to the images. And very quickly, I just want to show you a few of the images. Oh, but first I want to show you something else. And this is really cool. And you have to do this for me. Of course, you have to subscribe to our channel. We really, really appreciate that. But you also have to do something else. I'm going to show you in a minute. Let me first select the image I want to retouch for you guys. So I want to do one with the red gel, as that's where we actually ended up with. So let me see which one I like. I really like the one where he was biting on his fist. This one I really love. Although in this one I do think that the main light is a little bit too strong. But I still love the shot, so I'm going to fake that a little bit in Photoshop. So that's actually cool, because now you guys can see what we do in Photoshop if we really do change a lot about a shot. So let's dive straight into Photoshop. Let's lower the exposure just a little bit to give it a more of a moody look. There we go. Okay, let's go into Photoshop. And in between, of course, you can ask any question you want. Okay. First things first. This side is a little bit too bright for my taste. I wanna lower that down. Now you can do that many different ways, but this is a way that I found out that looks really nice. And let's say I also want to give a little bit of a blue tint to this. And you can do this. Do a new layer. And for example, just add a layer like this. Take a brush and do blue. Now in this case, we're gonna do blue. Okay, let's paint him in blue. Oh, my opacity is set at 36, sorry guys. Let's do that all the way up to 100. You can do this a little bit sloppy. There we go. Okay, so a little bit of blue. Maybe just also do this. I don't know how this is going to turn out, so if it doesn't turn out right, we're just going to undo it. Now let's blur this just a little bit. Just make it a little bit more. You have to be able to barely see what's underneath. So this is great. And now just change your blending mode into, for example, color. And if that's too much, try experimenting with saturation. Now that's way too much, of course. So you can also try to separate it with soft light. There we go, that's better. And now start at 0 and just slowly build the effect up. There you go. Make sure you check this on a monitor that's properly calibrated, because this is very, very secure, because if you go a little bit too much, it looks terrible. Okay, now gave him a little bit more of a bluish tint in the shadows, which I really love in this case. There we go. Okay, now if you say, oh, Frank, I really like this, but I like it a little bit darker. The cool thing is, it is on one separate layer. So you can always go into, for example, into curves, and just make it a little bit darker. Which in this case doesn't do what I want it to do. Always nice. Okay. Of course, you can also duplicate that layer. There we go. If it doesn't want to do one way, you're just going to do it the other way. Okay, cool. And what you can do, of course, still, is use your hue and saturation to change the colors. There you go, and do the same thing here. That actually works a little bit better, as you can see now. Okay, this is a little bit the look that I like. There we go. Okay, now the overall look is still a little bit too bright, but I first want to take care of this side area. So I want to take out the power cable, of course, so I'm going to use the lasso tool. I'm actually going to select this and just press delete. Oh, first I have to layer flatten image, of course. Just press delete, and we use content aware fill. We love Adobe for that option. Works great. Okay. Now this part I don't like at all. I don't like to see the gels, and that's something I never liked. And you can of course use your healing brush and make it really difficult and go in and go like this and go like, oh, but now it makes it a little bit messy. Don't do that. What you can better do is very simple. Do a new layer. There you go. Take a big brush. Now sample the color of that part inside, and you might think it's white, but it's actually often a little bit off-white. And just do this. So now it's a little bit bigger. Give it a hinge of blur, not too much, just a little bit. There we go. And now it just looks better than this. It gives it a little bit more atmosphere. Now if you want even more light on your model, there's a really simple trick. Do a new layer. Make the brush really big and choose one of the red tints, like this one. And now just go all the way. Feel like Bob Ross. There we go. And blur the heck out of this. Okay. Now, of course, this is way too much. So what you do is you lower your opacity to 0 and just slightly add the effect in. And now you can see that we get this really nice, almost lens flare-ish look. There we go. Really like this. Okay, now for the finishing touch, I have to go to a plugin that I really love, Alien Skin Exposure. I have to drag that to another monitor. So one moment, guys. So I'm gonna drag it back here. Okay. And now I have to find a look that I really like for this shot. And the cool thing is you can just select your looks and just move your pointer over the other looks and you will immediately see the results. So this is all black and white, Chinese horror. That's one I really like normally. In this case, I think it's a little bit too darkish. Before and after, although it does give it more like a vampire look. That's why it's called Chinese horror, of course. Let's see. I think this gives it a little bit more oomph. You see there are slight differences between them. And what you can do now is just go into your curves. Where are my curves here? Go to the RGB and just raise it just a little bit. There we go. Nice. Add a little bit of contrast. Ooh. Now that's one angry guy. So this was before, and just by adding a little bit of filtering, and it's running now on the second monitor, don't worry, it's still working. There we go. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Really love this. Layer, flatten image. And now I'm going to finish it off by doing just a little bit of extra curves. So I want to make it a little bit more dark. Okay. Now, if you don't like the blue tone per se and you want to warm everything up just a little bit, you can also do this, because that's the trick you just learned. Do a new layer. I like it, so I'm going to delete this layer afterwards probably, but you never know, because I never know what I'm going to do with these kind of shows. Go for a reddish pink. Let's do that. Okay, fill it up and use soft light. Soft light is like the perfect blend mode for me in most cases. And just add it a little bit. You see what also happens with the rest? It just gives it a nice hue, a nice overall tint. I really, really dig this. So I'm actually going to keep it. Okay, file close. And save. That's awesome. Okay, let's switch back to here and let's see if we have any more questions for you guys. And then we're going to do photo critiques, so that's also cool. Okay, no more questions on YouTube. Let me see if I'm really not missing anything, because I would hate that. No. Okay, let's do photo critiques, because we got some images from you guys in. So I'm going to switch back to my desktop. Okay, and I'm going to go into photos. Okay, let me start with this one. Okay, this one was sent to me, and let me switch on my camera so you guys can actually see what I'm saying. Okay, first of all, of course, please subscribe to our channel if I didn't already ask, and hit that like button. We really like that. Hey, this image, absolutely awesome. This is what I tell people always about storytelling. You have to tell a story, and in this case, the story is, in my opinion, just great. It's a girl, and you know, what is the story? I don't know, but it triggers my imagination. The thing that I would do personally, I like the city. I would make that a little bit more jump out. So, but that's personal. Maybe crop it a little bit more filmic like this. So this is nice. And now give it a tint. And I showed you already alien skin exposure, how a difference that can make. So we're going to do that again. Alien skin exposure 2. And it's all about the final look of the image, you know. Like some images are just great out of the camera, you think, and then you throw in just a little bit of tinting and you go like, oh, that's what I like, that's what I need. So see the difference. And I didn't even select one yet. So let's go through the Chinese horror ones. Those are my favorites. And by the way, if you want to buy those, we have a special deal for you guys, and that's actually on this part of my website. And you can buy all those presets. Now, I'm the kind of photographer and educator that doesn't hold back. So in other ways, all those images that you see and all the presets that you see are literally the presets that we sell. So don't worry, it's literally that stuff that you see. Okay, let's go through some of the presets. I actually like this one already. Press apply, and now look at the difference. I just love this. And again, it's very personal, but for me, it just gives the city a little bit more attention and it just works better in my opinion. Okay, so let's do file close and don't save because I don't want to destroy his image. And let's do another one. Okay. Now, this shot, really like it, but there are a few things that I wouldn't do, like the arms and the hands. You see this? I don't know where they're going. I don't know where they come from. So when I post a model, you know, when I started with photography and models, I always try to somehow, let me put this a little bit closer so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So let's do a Casey Neistat. So, no, I'm just kidding. Love him, by the way. So when I started photography, I always tried to get my model into a knot, like trying to make her the most difficult poses that were possible. And in the end, I just found out, you know what, don't do that. Just let her hold her hands like this, or very gentle, or don't try to make her do yoga in front of the camera. And this is more like a pose where, okay, how far can you stretch? And I mean this in all honesty, of course, and in all friendliness. What I would do, and don't be mad at me, I would actually do this, because the top hand is the one that's really annoying me. The bottom part I would actually also take out, and again, this is my personal opinion. I would literally do this. And now I got a shot that I really like. I do like the blacks to be a little bit more dark, so let's go into the curves. Let me see where my curves are. Here they are. So you see that there's no black detail, and that's on purpose, because this is the look he likes, this is the look that I like. And then I would probably just lower the saturation just a little bit. There we go. Again, this is my personal opinion. Don't go like, okay, this is what I have to do. No, it's personal. There's nothing about it that you have to do. It's your image. Okay, let me do one more before we close down. Okay, this shot. I like it. The thing that I don't like is this in the eye. So I want those eyes actually to be not exactly the same, but in brightness a little bit the same. Now, I already showed you the trick with the dodge tool, and I don't like to repeat myself. So let's do something that's even better. Make a new layer, duplicate. You go into curves. And just open it up and just keep looking at that eye. Don't look at anything else in the picture. Just keep looking at that eye. I like it like this. Okay, now do a layer mask and do a layer mask hide all. Take a brush with white paint. Oops. There we go. And just paint the effect in way too much. There we go. Okay, now take the opacity down, all the way down, and switch back to black. And now just massage. And this is where Wacom really shines, because now you can literally massage the brightness the way that you want it. You can use your flow. I actually pick up my pen from the Wacom. I'm using the Cintiq. When you ever worked with a Cintiq, you don't ever want to go back, trust me. I never wanted to use a Cintiq until I got one. You see, it's very subtle, but it just opens up the eyes a little bit, and don't do too much. This was one of those poses, never do that. Same with this pose. Never do that again. And it's like, look, I have oxals. Or armpits, of course, armpits. The other thing is, I actually like the lighting it is. So I wouldn't change too much. Maybe when you pose her, just lower the chin just a little bit. Just a little bit, just a hinge. But overall, great shot, cropping wise, and it's always cropping with me, maybe just... It's a very small change, look at this. Boom. It's very subtle, But for me, it just works a little bit better. Don't show too much. Don't crop too much, but don't show too much. Okay, the thing that you guys, you are asking me, how can we send in images for the, how do you call it, for the critique? I'm going to show you that very quickly, because I didn't make a slide for that, so I have to do it very quickly like this. Okay, this is more like back to the 80s. Go to Frank Doorhof. .com/email. Okay, now if you go there, you can subscribe to our so-called email community. What is the email community? It's a place where every week on Thursday I try to give you an email, and that email contains images, tips, a unique video only for that community. That can be a photo critique or a tip or whatever. And you get 5 or 4 or whatever, what I found, YouTube videos that I found really inspirational. And you get an email option to send in your images for critique. And I will spread those images out over the community, where I do them literally in a video, especially for you, or for that email community, of course. Or I do them in Digital Classroom. And in the email community, I often do them a little bit longer. Now, we recently switched to Camtasia, by the way, for all our recordings. And the reason, a lot of you guys have been asking me, like, Frank, when you do those, let me switch back to this one, sorry. When you do those video tips, we hear that clicking sound. And I can tell you exactly why that was. We used the Mac for many, many years, and I used a program called ScreenFlow, which I absolutely loved. When I switched to the PC, we used Active Presenter, which seemed to be great, but that annoying clicking sound, I couldn't get it away. But I wanted to first dive into what capture software was best for capturing your screen. And we ended up, thanks to my buddy Glyn Dewis, actually with Camtasia. And Camtasia is absolutely great. So from now on, all those videos with tips will be absolutely great, with zooming effects and everything else. It's a really cool program. Let me see if we have anything else. If you're in the Netherlands, and of course you are, there's something really cool coming. In cooperation with Camera Nu and a lot of other sponsors, we are doing something that will blow your socks off. We are coming to different cities in the Netherlands, and we're going to do the Frank Doorhof Roadshow. Let me show you the trailer. Okay, and Anouie just gave me this. If you don't already have it, make sure you get it. That's a cool saying. Mastering the Model Shoot. It's my personal favorite book to look through when I need inspiration. And I know the guy who wrote it. I see him in the mirror every day. Now, without any doubt, guys, if you need a book about model photography, check out Mastering the Model Shoot. The other things that are really important, of course, is thank you, BenQ and Rogue. On June 30th, let me put it this way, we have a workshop for all the Dutch guys in Aviodrome. That's the one with the planes. Yes, we're going to do that one again. And of course, for Behind the Closed Doors, we're going to film there our vlog too. That's a literally awesome location. On September 6th, we have another DC Comic Show, Digital Classroom. And the roadshow, of course, in Eindhoven, Ridderkerk, Apeldoorn and Drachten. That's going to be so cool. We have different models. We have, of course, on 2 of them, we have, I believe, Nadine, also for styling. We have Rosa for one, and all the other ones should be great too. So, if you don't have any more questions... Oh, here we have a question from Max. Hey, Frank, could you please tell us why you have moved to the PC? Okay. Do you want the long story or the short one? Let me do the short one. And this is gonna be a really short one. Don't worry. Don't switch off yet, guys. The reason is very simple. I didn't want to switch to the PC. I was literally forced. And why was I forced? We do a lot of video editing, and my Mac Pro was actually slower than my MacBook Pro. And that's because the A264 decoding isn't in the Xeon processors from the Mac Pro. So I was editing a lot on the laptop, and I was just going like, you know, why do I have a €6,500 Mac Pro? And Apple was just keep postponing the Mac Pro, and then it was 2018. And at one point I said, you know what, we're just gonna put a PC there. The highest budget possible, like €3,000, let's see what we can get. And I actually got an amazing PC, very, very fast. And Windows 10 it's more than okay. I still like Mac OS more, but Windows 10 is great. We're actually gonna do a video for you guys very soon, if you like it, on how to customize your PC to look a little bit more like a Mac. I'm gonna show you that very, I can't show you that very quickly, sorry. But no, I can show you. Look, what I did is I actually have a dock. And it makes it feel a little bit more like a Mac. I have the start menu on top. So I'm gonna do a video for you guys on all the things that you need when you switch from a PC, from a Mac to a PC. So I still prefer Mac OS, but as soon as I start up Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One, it's the same. Actually, I have less problems with Lightroom, with disconnecting, and with my color checker than I had on the Mac, so go figure. The laptop is another story. I didn't want to sell my MacBook Pro, and it actually 2 hours ago somebody picked it up because I sold it. When a new MacBook Pro was released, I missed all the ports, I missed the card reader. I still wanted to try it out, so I kept mine, and Anyweek bought a new one, and that was actually the start of the disaster. I don't like the keyboards, they are too noisy, and I don't like the travel of the keys, and I do type a lot. And her dongles, most of the times they work, and sometimes you add a projector, it doesn't work. You do another dongle, it doesn't work. You put it in another port, it works. Card readers that if they are in, you can't charge your laptop anymore. It's a boatload with problems. So I decided, you know what, if I'm already there with my PC, I'm already used to Windows, why not just try a laptop? And I tried a lot of PC laptops in the stores, and I hated them because you came from a great designed laptop, the MacBook Pro, and you come to a plasticky Toys R Us-like laptop, and you go like, this is crap. And somebody told me, check out the Dell XPS 15. I checked it out, fell in love, bought it. And the cool thing is I now have a Dell XPS 15 that kicks the new MacBook Pro in all stages. It's incredibly fast, and it's only €2,100. And now you have like 32 gigs, you have a 15.6-inch touchscreen 4K. The touchpad is okay, the Mac one is better, but it's okay. The speakers suck, but we use external speakers. And they still are usable, but the speakers on the Mac are better. And everything else, a 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigs, a really fast video card, 1050. And everything is just, it's blazingly fast, and it's €2,100. So it's half the price that I would spend with Apple. So with all due respect for Apple, no. The other reason is actually slowly things are changing. Like I had an Apple Watch, if you look now, it's a Vivo Active from Garmin for the same reason. Apple is promising for years and years, we're gonna focus on health. And I like to exercise, I like to sport, but I'm also a gadget freak. I like to see all those charts. And with the Apple Watch, I couldn't connect to most of the apps. Runkeeper was okay, but if it crashed, I lost my whole exercise. And again, then I have a gap in my, you know what I mean, right? Now I have the Garmin, and the weird thing is the Garmin connects to all the apps, including Apple Health. It connects to our FitnessPal. Everything just works better, and that's what I expect from Apple. So in the past, you would buy a Garmin and you would go like, yeah, I would love an Apple Watch because everything works better together. And nowadays, it's the opposite. You buy Apple and somehow it just doesn't work. Let me put it this way. The iPhone Apple Watch is amazing. It works. It's great. But where is Apple Pay in the Netherlands? Where is your whole check-in system for Schiphol and for flights and for hotels? They promised us this 2 years ago. You can go into your hotel with just your Apple Watch and you don't even have to scan it. Apple, where is it? So for sports, I got the Garmin, and in all honesty, in dark, yeah, the display is a laugh. Outside, it's brilliant, and that's why we use it, right? Heartbeat is way better, but long story short, I think Apple is losing its way. I love Apple. I would love Apple to get back, but I'm not willing to spend so much money on Apple products, while on the PC market I can buy it for half. And do remember, don't buy cheap PCs because you will run back to Mac. But if you buy a really good PC like the Dell XPS 15, there's no reason to go back. Anyway, you had a question on Facebook.
How many photos can they send in for critiques?
Okay, how many photos can you send in for critique? Let's say 1 a week. So you can send in 1 a week, and if it's too much, I will just ignore you. No, I'm just kidding. I will always give you a reply, but let's do 1 a week. That's okay. So if you register for that email community at frankdoorhof.com/email, you will be in the option to send us that stuff, and you will get the update only once a week, and it's no spam. We don't do anything commercial in there. The only thing is when we do a new instructional tutorial, Tuesday we're going to start filming one, we're going to give you a deep discount in the first week. Nobody else will get that, only the guys on the email community. So that's one of the things. Any more questions on the week? That was it. Hit that like button. We really like it. Subscribe to our channel. Tell other people about it. And of course, also watch our vlog behind the closed doors, because that's really taking you behind the closed doors. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching. I'm now going to end the broadcast. And again, thank you so very much. Bye-bye.